And we're back with some more oxygen not included. And today we have to finish off that farm. I've been meaning to do it for ages, but I keep getting distracted by silly things, namely seed duplication. I looked at the Lumina Plays tutorial on this, and he has a great tutorial on how to duplicate seeds. And then I sort of took that and modified it a bit to make it like dumber and sort of slightly dumber. Right? It's very simple what we've done here. This here is a conveyor loader. This conveyor loader can hold 1,000 kilos. However, it won't load anything into it unless you have one conveyor rail on it, and that conveyor rail will hold 20 kilos. So this whole thing, if we try and cram it full of a resource, will only hold about 1,020 kilos. So what we have here is 1,019 kilos of sand, of salt. Salt, sand, doesn't matter. Then all we do is you go in here, and I would say, hey, get all the salt, chuck it into there. Auto sweeper, do you want to do your job? Oh, wait, yeah, you need to go down to a 4. Perfect. So now, all the salt will go in there, and now we're up to 1,019 kilos. So, we've got 999 kilos in here, and we've got 20 kilos on the line. That's where it all went. So that means there's only 1 kilo of space left in this. However, then what we're going to do is we're going to use this conveyor meter. Now, originally I tried to pass an actual seed through a conveyor meter to split it. Turns out the conveyor meter won't split seeds. Kind of unfortunate. That would have made things much simpler. But what we can do with this also is go into consumable ore. We will grab salt, and we are going to split the salt out. So the limit is 0.95 of a kilo. Oh, and I should also maybe put up the... Yeah, there you go. Go on. So it put a kilo in there, but only 0.95 of it will be allowed to pass through. And once that 0.95 passes through, it gets dumped into this conveyor loader. This conveyor loader now has... No, it's not 1,000 kilos. It's actually just shy, which means if we go grab seeds down here... Wait, no, cooking ingredients. Cooking ingredients. And we click on sleet wheat grain. It will put in 0.5 of a gram, or was it 0.5 of a kilo? 0.05 of a kilo of sleet wheat grain exuberant. Right then, so now let's get ready for the next bit. We have made sure no one can get in here. No one can get in there. We'll block people out of there as well. Then we shall copy the settings all the way along. Then we'll go back to this little conveyor loader and we'll say, hey, you know that seed you're allowed to put in? You're not allowed to put it in anymore. And since it can't put it in anymore, it falls out. And, guys, you want to plant that seed? Oh, wait, I've turned all of these off, haven't I? Damn it. I disabled these hydroponic farm tiles earlier, but once they're enabled, yeah, there we go. Seed guys should start planting. That is perfect. So then, whenever we want to actually duplicate a seed, we just hit A. Give us some more sleet wheat grain in there. Puts in the fraction. Then we let it drop down to the next level. And we put in another piece. And then we let that drop down. And then we put in another piece. What the? Where are you getting these exuberant sleet wheat seeds from? I think we found some more exuberant sleet wheat seeds. Damn it! I was trying to do some duplication here, guys. You're getting in the way. Alright, okay, I figured out what happened. We had another plant magically mutate on the side. We are still farming sleet wheat over here. There's a radiation lamp. We actually got a bunch of exuberant sleet wheat quite naturally, doing it the normal way instead of actually doing it this very cheeky way. But never mind. I still want to actually finish off using this so that we can see what it's like. We shall copy and paste those settings there. Then we can just go in here, grab us the sleet wheat grain seed, and drop it. Perfect. Will you plant? Yes, you will. Oh, damn it. We put that in, we drop it again, and it's basically just a case of doing this. It does allow us to quite quickly duplicate seeds, but it's not completely automated. But I'm kind of okay with that. It sort of depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you want hundreds of seeds, I suppose you should probably do it the automated way. But since we only want a very limited number, like 18 or 20, I'm quite happy with just doing this the manual way. Anyway, that seems to be a very quick and efficient way to duplicate as many mutated seeds as you want. Well, that's enough of that. I think we have more than enough sleet wheat exuberant for our needs. We are going to dump them all back into storage, and then we're going to move them over here for some pip planting. We have a whole bunch of nuclear waste here that would just love some exuberant seeds to be planted in them. When it comes to wild planting, I used to just build ladder tiles over these things. However, it's been pointed out to me that crown molding is far better, because crown molding can't be built, but it still blocks whatever is there. So because this crown molding blueprint is already in place, the pips can't plant there, but the crown molding never gets built, so at any point you can cancel it and remove it. You don't have to wait for someone to come along and deconstruct the ladder tab. Makes things far faster, so we should be able to plow through this in no time at all. So that Pip just planted another piece of sleet wheat, and then we can immediately just cancel that. Done. Problem solved. And then we just repeat that all the way along with the Pips down a level and then to the next level. This will be fairly fast, hopefully. And done. That is the final sleet wheat grain. Excellent. Then we can start storing up all those sleet wheat grains again and putting them back in the freezer. There's no way to really distinguish between them when you're putting them in here, so yeah, they just end up in this inaccessible area. So I have to do a little bit of manual micromanagement to make sure that they all end up going back in there when it's over. Then when that's finished, I'm going to have to put the pips somewhere. See, the thing is, I have no way of getting the pips back to storage. Storage is over here. This is where we keep all our wild animals. I have no idea. Just like none. How many there are there? We have 203 critters, but that also includes the crabs down there, the poke shells. So there's at least 100 critters on top of that. Every time eggs come out of the gate, we just sweep them and all the eggs end up getting dropped in here. There is also some slicksters down here as well. Though there is the occasional molten slickster, which is dropping petroleum. Thank you for that. And we got a bunch over there as well. But I've been trying to move all of these from over there to over here. But I just keep missing the eggs. There's still way, way, way too many. Right, let me tidy this up anyway. That is the beauty. Finished, tidied up, and good to go. And the reason we did it this way is not probably what you're thinking. This is not really that efficient, in my opinion. The reason being, this sleet wheat here, like just say we had decided to plant this normally in hydroponic farm tiles, and we planted exuberant sleet wheat there, it would be 4 times as efficient, meaning we would only need 1 level or 9 pieces of sleet wheat to get the same amount of production. However, if we also threw on fertilizer on top of that, we double the speed of that, which means we'd only need about 4.5, so say 5 pieces of sleet wheat with a farm getting fertilizer would produce more than all of this. That's kind of crazy. So if we had, say, 10 of them, we could fit them into a tiny... In fact, we have a farm over here already. If we were to, say, adapt this to have some rads in there to make sure that all these sleet wheat could grow, we could fill this in here, and this would grow far more sleet wheat grain than this setup ever would. But what we wanted was a system that doesn't ever shut down, that doesn't ever break, that doesn't require any interaction. This is all going to do with how we want to finish the game. What I want to do is take everything and put it through the temporal tear. And when I say everything, I don't just mean all the duplicants. What I want to do is take everything, including, like, the planets. I want to take the whole lot of it. For example, we have cored out this entire planet and loaded most of the mass onto a rocket. I want to do that with everything. I want to take all the mass, everything we can find on every planet, core them all out, load them up into rockets, and then leave. As in, I want to take pretty much everything in the universe that's non-renewable and leave with it. There will be some things left behind. For example, on the fire planet, we will leave this here. It doesn't require any maintenance, it doesn't require any interference, it will just sit there forever, turning out this niobium. That's grand. Farms. Farms that last indefinitely and don't require any inputs like water or dirt or any interaction from the duplicants, grand. Leave those too. But everything else has to go. We want to rip out this entire planet, possibly even the magma. May find a use for the magma, but we might actually have to rip out the magma as well, turn it into igneous rock, load that up into the rocket. There may be a few bits and pieces like that, but that would be the overarching goal. We want to strip mine the entire universe and take it with us. Problems I see, though, are liquid. I'm not sure we can take the liquid with us. It's just, there's only a 10 kilo port on our ship, so pumping in the water 10 kilos at a time, it just wouldn't work. We could try freezing it all, but yeah, there's an awful lot of mass in there. That would take just, even with 10 aquatuners running supercoolant, I'm pretty sure it'd take an awful long time to freeze that. You know what, we'll maybe come back to that. However, that does mean there is something we have to do. We have to design a second rocket that can support 16 duplicants, because we need to bring along the support staff, as in all the duplicants that live on this planet. Actually, it's 15 duplicants, it's not 16. Why was I... Oh, Matthew died. Yeah. Okay, so we need a rocket that can support 15 duplicants. So I was thinking, basically, same as this, we're going to stick in a nuclear reactor, because of course we are. And the rocket has to be self-sustained for 2,000 cycles. As in, we need to have enough fuel in there to keep it powered for 2,000 cycles. That's easy, like 20 tons of uranium. Done. I'm pretty sure we've got that back home already. In fact, let's just have a quick check over here. There is... Yeah, there's like 2 tons, 2.8 tons there. These beehives are still going. Yeah, so we've definitely got all the uranium necessary to run 2 rockets for 2,000 cycles. However, food-wise, for example, think it takes 16 million calories to feed 8 duplicants for 2,000 cycles. So this thing already has enough food on it. It doesn't actually require all the meat being produced by this. However, it helps. That's one of the reasons we are now currently massively expanding our food production. We don't need this much food production, but having it means we should be able to produce enough calories to cram a rocket full of calories for all of these duplicants, or the 15 duplicants left for 2,000 cycles in the support rocket. However, that leads us to another problem. That is whatever. This place here, the experimental tree. If we want to feed that, we were going to come back and just feed it a whole bunch of frostburgers, like a few million calories, get ourselves a whole bunch. But I'm thinking we do something sustainable. And a suggestion from the comments that was quite popular was making a paku farm. Infinitely sustainable, only requires us to start it up. And once it's started up, it's infinitely self-sustaining. So we don't have to do anything. That sounds like something we could leave behind and just have it slowly start filling this planet with whatever it outputs, resin. We could potentially flood this planet with resin if we did enough of it, which seems like an interesting project. That might be for later today. But first, well, the game's been patched. They've got an update, and there's a bleachstone hopper we want to play around with first. So bleachstone hopper, yes, and a plant pulverizer. We're also going to want to have a look at you. I'm very curious about both of you. So first up, we've got the bleachstone hopper. This thing looks really handy. It allows you to turn salt and gold into bleachstone. Now, it's not a great conversion ratio. You get 30 kilos of salt in, you get 10 kilos of bleachstone out, but you get 20 kilos of sand. You're basically converting 10% of your salt into bleachstone, 20% of your salt into sand, and then the remaining, well, the gold is lost. So you're losing half a kilo of gold for every operation. That's not really good for us because we don't have a gold volcano. We'd have to start mining the gold, but we do have a lot of salt, like just 396 tons of salt. That's plenty. Like, if we wanted to keep running our farms over here of, where were you call them? Those lettuce, we could totally do it, or the waterweed seeds. Waterweed requires bleachstone, which is one of the reasons we actually went with this natural farm as well. We just sort of had run out of bleachstone so long ago, we'd had to rely on the natural farming. So this is interesting. Not quite useful in this because we don't have a gold volcano, but if you had a gold volcano and a salt geyser, or some sort of salt water geyser or brine thing, you'll be able to convert all that salt into bleachstone, which is quite useful for making waterweed, because otherwise there was no way to make sustainable waterweed long term unless wild planting it. Oh, traps, they're now made out of base metals. You can now make a trap out of aluminum, cobalt, whatever you want, even niobium. But this means it's actually far easier to make them because you used to need plastic to make them, which really locked them further down the tech tree. Also, airborne critter traps, I don't really care. I've kind of stopped using, like, airborne critters. There's not really any good ones that I'm quite fond of. And now that we've got bleachstone hoppers, we don't even need to worry about ranching them for bleachstone. As far as I can tell, airborne critters are kind of pointless. That's kind of harsh. I mean, I'm sure there's some niche builds for them. It's just, most of the mainstream ones, you don't need puffs, because puffs are kind of pointless. They're really light on food requirements, because just say you ranch them for slime, the slime will off-gas into more oxygen, which you can then just feed back to them. So it's not like it's a bad thing. You can pretty much get not infinite amount of foods, but the actual amount of resources you need to put into making puffs is minimal. However, the other ones, what are the flying little shine bugs? Yeah, the first thing you do with them is you just kill them, because they're just really annoying. Now, over here, we got the plant pulverizer. This allows us to take things like nosh beans, sleet wheat, or pinch of peppermint and make this brand new material called brackeen, which is like a type of milk, I believe. I think this is similar to what the gassy moos produce. We don't really care about the gassy moos, because if we can get the same result by using pinch of peppernuts, hell yeah, I've got 4,295 kilos of pinch of peppermint that we have wild harvested over the last, 1,700 cycles. There's loads of this stuff still lying around in the map. That one, what are you? You're entombed? No. We can dig you out. We can cancel the uproot there. But yeah, we have a bunch of those lying around the place. If I could locate... here we go. So we've got them all over the place wild. There's several locations on the map that is still growing them. Why are you guys stifled? Ugh, too cold. There they are. They're actually growing over here. So we have 4,000 kilos of them. That means we can make ourselves a whole bunch of this brackeen stuff and see what it's good for. Anyone want to... Right. It's stored in here. No one can access it manually. Perfect. We just stuck a fridge there, set it to 3 kilos, set it to pinch of peppernuts, and then those 3 kilos of pinch of peppernuts get dragged down here. And now... So this is the plant-based alternative to the moo milk. Well, that's a thing. And there we got our first 20 kilos of this stuff. Excellent. Now let's figure out what the hell this stuff is used for. Turns out we need to do a little bit of research. There's a new research chunk on the tree, the brackeen flow. This requires to have a critter fountain. Dispenses brackeen to a wide variety of critters. That significantly improves critters' moods for breeding purposes. Brackeen Brack Wax Gleamer and a milking station. This allows you to milk grassy moos for brackeen. Honestly, I am still not motivated to go get gassy moos for this. That just seems, no, way too much effort. But the Brackwax Gleaner? Yeah, that I want to have a look into real quick. Let's put you somewhere close by where we can utilize you with convenience. So, what we're doing here is we're taking our pinch of peppermint seeds, combining them with water. So 17 kilos of water, 3 kilos of pinch of peppermint seeds gives us 20 kilos of brackeen. So no mass is actually lost there. We end up taking 20 kilos of stuff and turning it into 20 kilos of brackeen stuff. Then we chuck it into this Yokomu Bob. This thing here consumes 1 kilo of brackeen, which is the liquid we get out, and then it spits out 90 grams a second of brackwax, 810 grams a second of brine, and 100 grams a second of carbon dioxide, which all works out to 1 kilo as well, though 100 grams of carbon dioxide is kind of not great. The brine, though, we can turn back into water, so it's not like we're losing out on... Actually, we are losing out on some water, but not as much as you would think. So, water-wise, are pretty okay. What you're really paying here is the pinch of pepper nuts or the sleet wheat or the nosh bean. I would never use nosh beans. Oh my god, no. But sleet wheat grain, considering the amount we've got coming in, if we really wanted to mass produce a bunch of this stuff, it wouldn't be too hard. I've doubled down on the production over here, though. Now, right now, this machine has 15 kgs of brackwax in it. This is what we really want to get out of this machine. The brackwax is all we care about. All of this smashing up and all that stuff is just to get the brackwax out. Once there's 15 kilos in this machine, someone has to come in and reach their hand in and pull it out after it clogs. And there you go, brackwax, 15 kilos again, so we're up to 45. This will basically produce about 60 kilos a day. But, of course, that will be inefficient because it will pause every so often, pause every 4 times a day, and someone will have to come out and empty the machine. So if they don't empty the machine, you'll be paused in production. Right now, I've got 2 people running these machines, and we seem to be staying ahead of its consumption. In fact, we seem to be pulling ahead of it. So this thing's quite slow, and this stuff is kind of weak sauce to create. However, it gives us options. The options to produce... where is it? Over here somewhere. Plastium. Plastium? Okay, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. I don't care. We basically take 15 kilos of that brackwax, which we can produce 1 of a day using that machine. 70 kilos of plastic, 15 kilos of thermium, and we can produce Plastium, which has an overheat temperature of 900%. Basically, it's plastic thermium. It's this, as far as I can tell, that's all it is. Let's make ourselves a tile of this Plastium. Once that's completed, we'll put the block over here and we'll have a look and see what properties it got and what kind of properties it shares with other materials. So this here is Plastium, and it is very, very, very similar to plastic. Not quite identical, but very similar. Radiation blocking, 68%. That's the main one I really care about here. It means it's as good as plastic and lead, making it pretty good for reactor usages. However, its specific heat capacity is a little bit lower than plastic, and its thermal conductivity is a little bit higher, probably because it got some thermium mixed in there. But the melting point is 1,826.9 degrees. And when it melts, it just turns into naphtha. Yeah, or sorry, sour gas. It turns into sour gas, which is kind of pointless to us. Yeah, you do not want to be melting this stuff. It would be a waste of time. However, the brackwax here, you can melt the brackwax, and that turns into naphtha. So the brackwax melts at about 160 degrees. That would give you naphtha for liquid locks. Is it expensive? Yes. And I've been trying to figure out what's the cheapest way to do it here. Sleet wheat grain is about 200. It takes about 200 kilos of water, 50 kilos of dirt to get 1 operation of sleet wheat grain, because it takes 10 units of sleet wheat grain. So sleet wheat grain is slightly cheaper on water, but it costs 50 kilos of dirt to do 1 operation of this, so it is not cheap. Pinch of pepper nuts, that's about 210 kilos of water. It's 10 kilos of water, actually 10, but 12 kilos of water or more expensive. But it only costs about 6 kilos of phosphorite if you're going to go the pinch of pepper nut route. Nosh bean is actually really cheap. I think there might actually be a use in farming nosh bean just to make brackeen, assuming you want mass quantities of it. It's about 70 kilos of ethanol to do 1 operation of this, which means 1 tree would support about... You know what? I would have to go and do an awful lot more effort on it, and I don't think we need really that much brackeen for most of our playstyle, but if you wanted to go mass plastium for some reason, then yeah, nosh bean might be quite viable. Just get yourself some trees, ethanol production. You'd have to do some freezing. There's a whole bunch of things you'd have to do because nosh beans are a bit of a pain in the butt to make, but it might be more efficient to make your plastium that way. Anyway, oh, there's a few other things it can be used for. Ventilation. We can make mini gas pumps, and now the mini gas pumps can be made out of plastium, giving them an overheat temperature of plus 900. Same thing with mini liquid pumps, plus 900 overheat temperature. That's all well and good. You can now make plastic ladders out of plastium, which gives an overheat temperature of plus 900, which means your plastic ladders won't melt if you build them in the magma biome anymore, which, that's kind of nice. We've all had our magma biome or our oil biome plastic ladders melt and go, oh, buggery. Yeah. As well as that, transit tubes. Imagine making a transit tube that can go through magma or your industrial biome without having to worry about it, or your industrial sauna. You can now have your actual transport grid going there. We have not used transport grids on this map, namely because I kind of squished everything up a little bit too tight when I was making this. Well, there was all this hot rocks around the place. Plus, since the spaced out DLC kicked in, maps are much smaller. Like, this is the entire size of the map. Going up and down it is not nearly as onerous as it used to be. On the full size maps on on the original version of the game, you definitely needed to use transport tubes. But since the update and the smaller map types, transport tubes have become much less important, as well as that you can use some of this brackwax to lubricate your transport tubes and make you move faster. Again, not seeing the point of that. So far, the most important thing about this is you make plastic tiles that don't melt until 1800 degrees, plastic ladders that don't melt until 1800 degrees, and you can use these plastic tiles in your nuclear reactors. It's still giving you that radiation blocking, but not having to worry about it melting. I mean, lead, you can also use that in your nuclear reactors, but it melts at 327 degrees, which makes me a little bit nervous. Plastic, less so. Now, one thing I also want to cover is the joys of wild-grown exuberant sleet wheat. Exuberant seedwing does a few things. What it does is it gives food poisoning on crop of 10,000 germs, which is a thing. And let's see here. There we go. Okay, so the rot pile has 10,000 food poisoning germs, and the sleet wheat grain has 10,000 food poisoning germs. And then, did you pick it up before it got a chance? Grumpy Bear, nope. You have no surface germs, and you are carrying sleet wheat grain, which has no surface germs. Basically, the radiation in here is so high, it basically nukes the germs before they have a chance to do anything. In fact, the rot pile here, no germs. Let's try this again. Sleet wheat exuberant. Damn it, no, sleet wheat grain. There we go. So how's your germs looking? 9,600. No surface germs. Can't even get out of there before the surface germs are gone. And even if they couldn't, the moment they go into deep freeze storage, they get destroyed, or after they get cooked. And all of our cooks also are slightly radioactive. They do have the glow stick trait. So these positively glowing dupes, yep, there's one of them right there, working hard. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So the two of them make sure all of that food is completely nuked. At the same time, this rot pile over here, it's just free dirt. Basically, that's all it is. And since this place is overpressurized above 2 degrees of gas pressure, it never off gases, we can just take that, put it in a container, or we can compost it and make ourselves more dirt. So it's effectively a free source of dirt for us, which is kind of nice. And we don't even have to worry about the germs. Not that we really had to, I just like that the exuberant variant is like, hey, we're going to give you some food poisoning germs to mess you up. And it literally has to be grown in 250 rads of radiation. Any food poisoning germs are just going to die so quickly they won't have a chance to do anything. It just seems like the nerfs on exuberant seaweed grains are just pathetic. They don't really nerf it at all. It just makes exuberant even more powerful. I was just launching our crew back to Riken, whatever. This planet here where our duplicant died. Rip Matthew. So anyway, Matthew there died of massive radiation exposure, and we were trying to figure out why. Some people were saying there's a bug with the game where sometimes rad bolts give off excessive amounts of radiation, and I was just having a quick glance here, and this rad bolt had just smacked off the top of the map, and I was checking the rads. They all look normal except for this one tile here, which has a rad dose of 169,123 rads. That's ridiculous. The other rads around it are nowhere close. This is just a weird aberration for some reason. And that is the theory of what happened to Matthew. A rad bolt clipped something or hit something, and they got exposed to 169,000 rads in a split second. Basically, and gone. So that's the theory of what got them. That might make sense. At the time, I was thinking I had built a few ladder segments here to deconstruct the pipes. There was a pipe here and here, so I built ladder segments up, but they shouldn't have been in range. As far as I was aware, their legs would have to be in range of this to get radiated. They weren't. They were down here, so it must have been a rad bolt doing one of those weird, funky things that gave off 160,000 or something rads, and basically they instantly got a massive dose of radiation, just fatal instantly. That's odd. So anyway, there is currently a wall right here to stop that from happening again. No one's going to be able to get near that, and hopefully that'll also provide some shielding. And at the same time, these things are off until the duplicants land anyway. The whole power section for this is completely zippo, or nilch. And it's time to figure out how many paku we got down here. Yeah, no, that should be plenty to get us started. We're going to make ourselves a little paku duplication farm. While they're flying there, I should point out we have found the Moo planet, so yeah, there they are. The gassy moves are around here, though they do seem to be entombed. I assume they just fall out of the sky and land, but okay, you guys do you. The great thing about this place is it is absolutely freezing cold, so anytime they die, the stuff they leave behind immediately freezes. Also, there's a whole bunch of bleachstone here. I'm looking forward to strip mining this place. But not today. Before we arrive at the planet, we should probably design ourselves some sort of paku multiplication device, figure out how many paku we're going to need, and what kind of design we're going to want to utilize. First thing to do, want to figure out what it takes to mess up a paku so that they don't breed. And it's basically if you confine them, well, if we want them to breed, we can't have them confined, we need to have them well fed, all that stuff. But the first thing to figure out is what confines them, and it's basically anything under 7 tiles of space. So that's 7 tiles of space right there. There is 8. Once they have 8 tiles of water, they are no longer confined. Now let's figure out a way to multiply them. What we are attempting to do here is pretty straightforward, but kind of annoyingly complicated given the tools we have. So what we want here is a breeding pool where we put in 4 paku. So we get these 4 paku and we chuck them in here and we tame them by feeding them algae. Then what happens is their breeding rate goes through the roof. They start dropping eggs like crazy. And then what we want to do is take all those eggs, well, almost all those eggs, and dump them over into a little 1-tile pool. Then, once those eggs hatch, once those fish in there are in there, it doesn't matter how overcrowded or cramped they are, and the fact that they're tamed, they'll still drop 1 egg before they die. So what we want to do is take any eggs they get and remove them out of here, because if the eggs are in there, that will cause them not to reproduce. The fact that there's like 100 fish in there wouldn't make a difference. So then what we would do is something along the lines of, say, put the eggs over here. We drop the eggs over to this section. Actually, there we go. Now what happens is any eggs that end up in here, or get dropped in here, get automatically chucked into that dispenser, which means I should probably do this. Yeah, you're probably better off over there. Whatever. Now this is still very rough cut. So what should happen is they should drop eggs. Eggs should get picked up by this critter eggs. Boom, those critter eggs will then immediately get conveyor loaded across. Get rid of that conveyor chute there. And then those eggs will end up hatching, flopping into this water, and then boom, we've got more paku. And then they will keep replicating and keep replicating. The downside is, or the problem is, what do we do about these 4 fish in here? At some point, they will age out and die. In fact, are all of these really old? See, one of them's already too old. At some point, we'll go below 4 fish, and then 3, 2, and then 1, and then we'll have no fish left. So we need some way of making sure that when this starts to run low, we put eggs back in. So, there's a few ways you can do that. One is, on the way out, we can have some sort of critter sensor check to see how many eggs are in here, and then maybe have our own setup. But then, how do we make sure that there's 4? Like, how do we count up that we say there's 3 in here, and then we put an egg there? But what happens when there's none left in here? Do we just put 1 egg there, or 3 eggs there, or... It gets really complicated. Or we could take eggs out of here and shuffle them back in. There's different methods. I'm just trying to figure out which one's the least inconvenient. Yeah, I'm being stupid. This is... I'm making this far too complicated. That's one of those problems you kind of fall into. I'm trying to have... Okay, so we keep 4 fish in here. If there's not 4 fish, then we send a signal over to this thing to say, hey, grab an egg from there and send it back. And then, of course, you have to worry about, well... Wait a minute, how many eggs is it going to send back? So we have to put in a conveyor limiter and meter out only 1 egg, and then we have to reset this when we need more eggs. And yeah, this does not work. This is far too complicated, and we are going to simplify this down. We need to make this dumb, stupid, and easy. That is the way to do things. You can complicate stuff if you want. That's all up to you. But me, I prefer things that are very robust and really hard to mess up and simple, basic. So let's try something a little bit more simplistic. This design was an attempt at a smart system. Smart systems are going to go, hey, how many fish do you have in here? How many eggs do you have in here? When you have 3 fish in here, we'll have 1 egg there. If we have 2 fish in here, we'll have 2 eggs there. So there's always the correct amount of fish and eggs in all whatever ratios and all that. That can be done. The problem is then trying to explain how you figured it out, how your automation works, all that stuff, and the time and investment. No. We're going to go with the dumb system. The dumb system is far simpler. You see, a pacu lives for 25 cycles. A pacu egg takes 5 cycles to hatch, 20% incubation per cycle, so every 5 cycles an egg will hatch. Every 25 cycles, the fish will die. So how about we just put 1 egg in here every 5 cycles? If we put 1 egg in here every 5 cycles, and assuming it's a fresh egg now, that'll take 5 cycles to hatch, and then hop in. And every 5 cycles on average, a fish will die. So on average, there will always be 5 fish in here. And there will always be an egg waiting to pop out, so we should be able to keep the population fairly stable and don't have to worry about any really fancy automation stuff. In fact, this is incredibly dumb. So what happens is, this fish here is currently tamed. At some point, it's going to drop an egg. What are we at? We're at a reproduction of 55. When it does, this egg will go onto the conveyor loader. That egg will come up here. This thing will say, hey, has a certain amount of time passed? Well, it'll shunt that egg in there immediately. Once that egg has gone in there, though, this locks this out. This has got to be reset before another egg will be allowed through. It's just the way this thing works. You can see under the automation overlay, there's a reset button on these things. So once this gets reset, it will allow another egg in. But we're not going to allow another egg in for 5 cycles. And the way we do that is with a signal counter. This thing is actually incredibly dumb. I'll show you it up here. We've set this one to be a little bit faster. Let's set that to every 5 seconds. You go off for a second, and we'll reset you right now. So, this is set to 0, and every 5 seconds, this is going to pulse this thing. So, boom, it goes up to 1. And then another, boom, goes up again, and again, and again. And once it hits 5, what'll happen is it's going to send a brief automation signal, and then, boom, it resets. So, the whole system automatically resets itself, and it resets the counter on this conveyor meter. So what's happening down here is we've got this to go off once every, actually 599 seconds would be preferable. So once every 599 seconds, for a second, this will send an automation signal, which means after 5 cycles, this counter will have reset, and it will reset this conveyor meter, which means once every 5 cycles, this conveyor meter gets reset, which means we should roughly end up with an egg going in there once every 5 cycles, so depending on the amount of fish in here, and this should eventually stabilize at 5 fish and no more at all times. And we'll always have fish ready to hop back in when it goes a little bit dormant. Now we just sort of have to fast forward a bit. You see, this thing here is already at 17 years of age. Its reproduction is going along. We'll just have to play it forward. Oh, and those eggs, and if this thing already has enough eggs, the eggs will get sent over here. Those eggs will sit there. They will hatch. Then they will flop over here. And once they land in the water, they will stay there until they age up, drop another egg. That egg will get picked up by that auto sweeper. That auto sweeper will check it into the automatic dispenser, which lands it down here. And the whole cycle begins again. The egg will hatch, blah, blah, blah. So, let's give this a little time and see how this fish works out. Our first egg has dropped. Yep, you're going to get sent up here. Oh, and you're going to get punted across, and now you're in there. Excellent. Let's see what happens when the second egg drops. That might be a little while. I maybe didn't put in the auto sweeper there. Come on, drop another egg. Oh, and I reset the timer just there now to make sure that it's set on a good 5-cycle schedule. Come on. Drop that egg. There you go. And that egg gets sent up here. Ow! How did you go through? I figured out my mistake. When I hit the reset counter on this, it also reset the conveyor meter, so I need to be more careful about that. Alright, from now on, any eggs it drops will automatically get shunted to the side until this thing does a full count. So it'll be 5 more cycles before another egg goes in there. Let's fast forward this a lot more. After running this forward for a while, we encountered an issue. We sometimes ended up with 6 fish in the pond. This is a problem. It wasn't designed to hold 6 fish, and I was wondering how that happened. There's always something that will mess you up, but the problem was more this. It was to do with the timer. The timer would count down 5 days, just exactly as we planned. However, the fish would not lay an egg exactly on the 5 days. So what could happen was, the counter would reset, and then an egg would not be laid for an entire day. It can happen that they just don't lay one. The lay rate on these things is about 1.3 days they lay an egg. So what could happen is it would happen like an egg wouldn't drop for half a day or a whole day, and then the egg would end up here, or no egg would end up here. Then the egg would go up after a day had already passed, and this counter had already gone forward a day, which meant when this counter reset, if a fish dropped an egg immediately or pretty close to it, we'd end up with 2 eggs up here, and then you'd end up with too much fish ending up in the pond, and it got kind of awkward. So instead, we changed the counter to 6. This increases the amount of, well, it's going to decrease the productivity of this whole area, but it doesn't mean we don't have to worry about this thing ever getting overpopulated. The odds of it happening should be incredibly slim, and worst case scenario, we can always expand the pool a little bit more. Downsides, though, well, we've got to feed this tree over here, and this tree, it is a hungry, hungry hippo. Let's go grab the wiki for a second. Oh, actually, before we go, we're going to grab this paku fillet over here for those who haven't seen the tree in action before. This tree eats stuff. That paku fillet is at 11,000 calories, and as you can see, it eats a bunch of it. And then, after eating it for a while, come on, chow down there, buddy. Once it's hit a certain amount of calories, and it's calories, not mass, it starts to, well, let this resin come out. And the resin is what you really want. So you're just trying to feed it calories, and the more calorie-dense the foods you feed it, the better. It seems to work on weight. It eats food in terms of grams, so it has a certain amount of grams it eats, but the calories are what actually matters. So foods that are very calorie dense, like say, surf and turf or frost buns, those things will give you more bang for your buck than, say, feeding it some lice loaf. If you feed it lice loaf, it takes so long to eat it that it doesn't actually give you a lot of resin because it's so low calorie. So the higher the density of calories, the less time it spends eating and the more time it spends pooping out all that resin you want. But we want to make our planet self-sustained, and we don't want to actually do anything too complicated, so we're going to be avoiding cooking anything, which is why we're going with just raw paku fillets. Let me show you something. This is the tree wiki, or the experimental whatever wiki. This tells you a bunch of stuff about the tree. All that we're interested in here is how much food it consumes. That basically tells us how much resin it's going to produce. The more calories consumed, the more resin it'll produce. Hexton fruit, it turns out, are the best. Those weird fruit you find lying around, I think in the forest biome? Yeah, they actually happen to be, like, the fact you can't make them does mean this is kind of just a niche piece of knowledge, but whatever. The best food, though, is frostburgers and surf and turf. The tree can consume 90,000 calories of that because it's so calorie dense for the weight, and give you about 450 kilos of resin per cycle. However, yeah, we don't want to make 90 duplicants worth of food. That's just too intensive. No, we're lazy. Plus, the amount of dirt, nope. So we're going to scroll all the way down here. And notice all of these things require cooking to be made. Even berry sludge, you got to put that through the press. We have to get down to bristleberry. Bristleberry, I think, is the first food, give or take, that you can actually just get straight off a plant, don't have to do anything with, and feed it directly to the tree. 37,000 calories, yeah, that's not so bad. Cooked seafood is actually at 37,000 calories as well. Let's show you, bristleberry is pretty calorie dense. Anyway, meat is also there at 37,000. Then you got your frost buns. Where is it? But we're going to go with paku fillet. We're going to need to feed the tree to keep it fully fed all the time, so it's putting out the maximum amount of resin we're capable with paku fillets. 25,000 calories worth of paku fillet a cycle. That seems like a decent amount. Let's go check the numbers on that. A single paku fillet is actually worth 1,000 calories, which means we need 25 paku corpses a cycle. A paku lives for 25 cycles, which means we would need 25 paku to give us one paku fillet a cycle. But we need 25,000 of them, so we need 25 multiplied by 25. That's 625 paku. We're going to need to have 625 unfed paku to give us enough paku fillets, raw paku fillets, to feed this tree consistently all day, every day, with no input from us. That seems very doable. So I was thinking, this design seems to be working so far. I'm going to have to let it run for about a couple hundred cycles. Maybe I'll let it run overnight or something, just to make sure and stress test it to make sure that it doesn't mess up. Oh, and you can see here we have already got 48 critters in there and another 20 in there. I think what we'll do is something similar to this, just a little bit more. This is just a more condensed version of that, made it a little bit neater. Then we would have multiple areas. I'm thinking we'd stick about 100 fish in each one. I don't want to put too many fish in an area because it tends to cause problems when you go above a certain amount. See, every time an egg drops in here, it causes all of the fish's reproductions to stutter. Let's find a decent aged fish in here. This here is a 16-year-old fish, and its reproduction rate is already at 70%. The fish basically will... Yep, there we go. An egg at about 20. At the age of 20, these fish in here are putting out an egg. They're tame, they're glum, they're overcrowded, but they don't care. They still pop out a fish. The only way you can stop them from having a fit or their reproduction from going up is to throw an egg in there. We're not. Every time an egg spawns in here, or every time one of them drops an egg, this thing picks it up, dumps it into this automatic dispenser, and it gets sent over here. However, if you go to certain heights, like just say you have 1,000 fish in here, there's going to be so many eggs dropping that this thing, between the time it takes them in and out, it's going to start stifling some of the other fish. So I figure we limit it to about 100 eggs per pool. We do something like this. Fish will come up from here, go through there, and we'll limit these to, say, we'll set it to 100 units. And then we'd make about 7 of these, and we get about 700 fish, and then have all the food fed through some sort of cooling unit. The cooling unit would flash freeze them, and then once they're flash frozen, we dump them at the base of the tree. For example, if we have this tree in a vacuum, and we have some flash frozen paku dumped on it, it remains deep frozen. It just will sit there on top of the mesh tiles, and nothing will happen to it. It will stay deep frozen, and its temperature will not change. Meaning, even if we mess up, it should still be able to stay there indefinitely. So, our current plan: fly over here, convert this place into a paku expansionist farming commune, and then feed the experimental tree an absolutely gargantuan amount of fish. Won't be the most efficient in terms of calories, but it will be completely labor-free, is the theory. That way, when we leave this galaxy and we take everything with us, this thing can still sit here slowly but surely flooding this planet in resin. I mean, why not? Seems like a good thing to do as any. And it's sort of a monument to poor Matthew over here, though I really have to be more careful with that. You know what? Not going to worry about it. Anyway, that will be for the next episode. Next episode is going to be this. I think the episode after that is going to be taking care of Sandgila? Whatever. Probably Belchil as well. We don't really need to do anything too crazy on those, and we still have not found a gold volcano. I think we're stuck with only this as our only source of gold, and we have to scout that one last unknown object, but I'm pretty sure that's not a planet. So, 2 more episodes to do that, and then probably a 3rd episode to tidy up, then a 4th episode to fly through the tear with 2 rockets. Oh, actually, wait, no, we gotta build that rocket. The second rocket we have to build that's going to hold the 15 duplicants, that's going to be another thing we got to do. We're going to have to melt the inside of a rocket again. Ooh, I have a few ideas on how to do that much more faster and more efficiently this time around. And putting on that cap, that carbon cap on the top of it, ooh, I think I know how I can do that much faster as well. Anyway, if anyone's got any design ideas for, say, a 15-person capsule inside a broken rocket that also contains a nuclear reactor, I'd be interested in seeing a few designs. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck. Ooh, I think I remember this one.